This will now be the second league game played at BMO Field. The last time against Houston, you weren't so impressed with the team's performance and just how they had come out. How are you anticipating this game to unfold?
Well, hopefully it unfolds in the victory. That's the plan. But really for us I thought we left it a little late in terms of our energy and the urgency that we had in trying to get the results. And for me, in this game, we need to open up with the right kind of energy and the right from the right emotional place, I think, as we start the game and really go after the results from the whistle. Obviously, it's a 90-minute game, and we won't win the game in the first few minutes, but I think in terms of how we want to play and our proactivity, we need to start a little bit sooner and not leave it for the second half.
Now with Josie Altidore out of the lineup, the other day you had alluded to the fact that maybe some other players would get opportunities, Jordan Hamilton in particular. With a young player like that, what kind of expectations are realistic for them to come into the lineup?
Well, Jordan will be with us tomorrow, so for Jordan is if and when he gets his opportunity is really to do what he does, to continue to try to contribute to the team in terms of possession, but for Jordan, it's looking for his moments to get on the end of things, to get in the box, to make some decisive runs, and it's really to do what he does at any level, wherever that is, and not to try to be anything more than that, because otherwise he wouldn't be out there. Really no expectation other than to do his best on the day. That would be it.
Greg, Portland's had some big players who've been injured are coming back now. They've been kind of hot and cold so far. How do you view them in terms of this stage of the season?
I think they're a dangerous team. I think you look at their roster and the guys they're adding back in, Valeri, the possibility of Will coming back, and obviously Nagby, and they have some real talent out on the field, and they have some size out on the field, especially up top with Addy, and some aggressive outside backs who can get high and get service in. So they have a group of players they're dangerous. In some ways, I'm a little surprised at sort of their overall results so far. I think there's more to them than that. So for them, it's about the day that it starts to click and they put together some results and performances. So for us, our job is to make sure that that's not tomorrow, and that we continue to progress ourselves as a team.
Joe didn't train today, so I assume Chris is going to start. How close is Joe to returning?
He's very close. He's starting to train. He wasn't all out. I think by next week he'll be training with the group all in.
Okay. And Mark Bloom was working out on his own. How do you see him return date?
We're optimistic next week. We're going to get our follow-up MRI just to make sure everything is healed where it should be, and then if that's conclusive in what we expect, then he should be ready to join back in.
Okay. And Robbie Finley?
Robbie will join back into the group next week.
Coach, how tough will it be not having Josie in the lineup?
Well, we'll miss him. Josie, I think, has been playing excellent. He's helped us in a number of ways in terms of holding up balls and bringing people into play. He's obviously been scoring goals, so we'll have to make adjustments according to that. But Josie's been excellent in a number of ways. Also, just I think over the past few weeks, his personality and in the team has been important, and his leadership has been great for the team. So we'll miss him for sure, but we have some other good players who can step in, and we'll just have to not skip a beat and kind of stick to what we're trying to do.
You mentioned Valeri before. How dangerous is he, and how do you contain him? How do you stop him?
I think he's a very dangerous player. For me, he's kind of that true central midfielder, attacking midfielder. But he also he's not just a playmaker, a setup guy. He scores goals. And so for us, it's important to kind of know where he is, because he takes up different spots around the field. He doesn't always just play in the middle of the park. Sometimes he slides out, especially over to the right side, and he and Nagby will interchange a little bit, because Nagby is also kind of a playmaker, more so than a winger, but they will interchange spots. And it's a matter of keeping track of him. Similar to Kaká, who is drifting at different places of the field. You have to know where they are and try to minimize the amount of times they're able to face forward and create things going forward, and minimize their looks at goal for sure. So we'll have to deal with them in similar ways.
Greg, I know your concern is more in the immediate future, but next season you'll be sharing your stadium with the Canadian Football League team. Mm-hmm. MLSE says that there'll be no change in the soccer experience when you play. Mm-hmm. Do you have any issues with sharing the stadium, or do you just think it's part of sports business, stadium business these days?
I definitely believe it's part of stadium business, and I think it's, as they've been doing the renovations, a lot of discussion has been between the company and us and all of the commitments they have to TFC and our fans and to the quality of our games, and that will all be there. I mean, between scheduling and our great turf crew there and the number of things that we're committed to in terms of the fields, for me, I have absolutely no worry that it's going to be anything different than it is, and it's the priority there is soccer, and I think it will remain that way, and I don't think the experience will be any different for anybody, especially the players.
And Michael was saying that soccer players are quite picky about their pitches, and I'm wondering, do you or your coaching staff, are you in constant communication with grounds crew about how to prepare the home pitch?
Yeah, we talk to them frequently. We set up sort of our standard with them on how high we want the grass, right? How watered they want it before the game, things like that. The size has always been a part of the discussion. So once we get kind of the standard in place, and we leave it at that because we duplicate that here at our training ground, so we have similar dimensions as we train. So, but all that's arranged accordingly and ahead of time, and they've done a fantastic job. The field when we played against Houston was amazing, so I expect nothing less, really.
Do you think Giovinco represents some kind of mismatch against their much larger, I don't want to call them terribly slow, but I'd say they're more positional players and they use their brains a lot, but maybe they can't keep up with his pace and his ability on the ball?
Yeah, it'll be an interesting matchup, especially because they have very aggressive outside backs who like to really get forward. And Sebastian and his ability to drift into different spots around the field creates matchup problems potentially for them, as their center backs might have to get out wide to defend in behind their center backs or behind their outside backs. It'll be interesting to see how it all plays, because I think it'll be two teams who are, if they come and they really try to play the way they like to play, it'll be two teams with some different sort of tactical setups that will be looking for ways to exploit each other, which makes for an interesting day. But I think Sebastian is very clever on how to try to pick up an edge in a game against either an opposition or against some form of tactic that the opposition is trying to employ.